1191, England. The king has been captured, and his evil brother, Prince John, is attempting to take the throne in his absence. The lords of the land don't stand in his way, and his oppression of the people brings them to the brink of starvation. One man, Sir Robin of Locksley, uses his bow and his sword to lead a revolt against John. These are the stories of Lady Marian, the assembling of the merry men, and the adventures of Robin Hood.
Welcome to Movie Friends. My name is Seth.
And I'm Michelle.
Today we're talking about The Adventures of Robin Hood from 1938. Directed by Michael Curtis and William Keighley. Written by Seton I. Miller and Norman Riley Rain. Cinematography by Tony Gaudio and Sol Polito. Composed by Eric Wolfgang Korngold. Edited by Rolf Dawson. Costume design by Milo Anderson. Starring Errol Flynn, Olivia de Havilland, Basil Rathbone, Claude Rains, Patrick Knowles, Eugene Pallett, Alan Hale, and Melville Cooper. Michelle!
Seth, hi!
We're back.
Happy September.
Happy Swashbuckling September. This is a patron-voted month.
Yeah.
And I learned what swashbuckling means.
Same.
This is going to be a jam-packed episode. There's so much stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
We've been gone for a month.
It feels like a year.
Yeah, literally, I think it feels like we're starting a whole new show.
It really does. And sometimes when you take a break, when I come back, it doesn't feel like we took a break. This actually feels like we took a break. Not like we had rest, but just like we haven't podcasted together.
I think we put out more episodes in August.
We did, as always.
It's so stupid.
So stupid. What's wrong with us?
But that's why we need to take the break, because if we were doing our normal show on top of all of that, we'd be like strung out.
Yes.
You did a lot of stuff. You are wearing a crown right now.
I am wearing a crown.
Very exciting. It looks like when someone has a crown in Tony Hawk Pro Skater when you play King of the Hill. Like it's like kind of floating above your head a little bit because you have it on your headphones.
With headphones.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Yeah, it's very cool. So you proposed something for our, catching people up and each other on what we did while we were gone. Would you like to explain what that is?
Yeah, I said that instead of going into detail with each other of what we did while we took off our summer break, shall we call it our summer break?
Sure.
Let's just rapid fire details of what we did, and we can't question each other on it.
That's crazy.
So
we're just gonna move on.
The listener will hear what we did. We'll hear what each other did, but we're not going to stop and go into full descriptions of it.
Okay. All right. Do you want to go first?
You can go first. Since I proposed this idea, I'm going to put this on you.
Okay. All right. How long do I have?
I don't know. I didn't think this through. I just thought of this.
Let's say 15 seconds each.
15 seconds. Okay. All right.
Okay, ready? I announced that I am officially working on a documentary about Matt Farley and the motoring media world, which is very exciting. I went on vacation with my entire family for my mom's 70th birthday. I went to Montreal with my wife for our 15th anniversary, and I think I'm out of time.
Yeah, very good.
That's insane.
Okay. That is insane. Very cool. Okay, I will start. This is fun. We're both watching the clock, right?
Yes.
Okay. I accidentally poked my eye and gave myself a 3mm abrasion. I went to the U.S. Open, and I went to medieval times to celebrate Swashbuckling Month.
Wow. Okay, you did it yours in less time, but
we have to move on. We have to move on.
Oh my God.
We got to move on.
You went to the U.S. Open? What?
Yeah, dude, summer break.
Wow. Okay. Well, moving on. I guess we won't talk about any of those things.
Now our friends know what we were up to.
Hey, we got some emails. So the first one is about the episode that I did with our friend Nick Scheist on
Nick.
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yes.
All right. So subject is Deadpool and Wolverine. Mm-hmm. So he says, "Hey Seth, first time, long time. I've probably written 20 versions of this email. Let's just say moving from one place to another in Florida will do that to you. Anyway, I initially had a deeper examination of writing about Deadpool and Wolverine in much denser detail, but I'm going to cut right to it. First off, excellent episode with you and Nick Scheist. He says, I side with Nick more overall, which I don't like, but I will accept.
Okay.
He says, I don't think this is another divisive Marvel entry. I don't think that's a bad thing. I had things about Deadpool and Wolverine that I didn't necessarily connect with, while understanding that at its heart, it's a closing chapter that started with Blade and ended tumultuously with the long-delayed New Mutants in 2020. And I agree with that. Deadpool as a character encompasses everything great about Marvel and occasionally overbearing about the brand, if we're being honest. While I do disagree about Deadpool making digs at the multiverse saga, oddly enough, Deadpool and Wolverine has ebbs and flows of the same guilt, grief, survivor's remorse has been tantamount in the last two phases. And I agree with that, and I'm also just over it, like we've done it. But hey, I'm not writing this letter. Also, people were going to start bowing out of these after Endgame. That's what happens with franchises. Again, these are my opinions. However, you and I do share this opinion. Fandoms aren't for us. And I say this thoroughly enjoying the MCU for the most part, which is what we all want to do, is to enjoy the ride. Are these films amusement park theme rides? Yes. But it doesn't make it any less cinematic. I hope Marvel Studios doesn't do this again, because while I did enjoy this more on a recent second viewing, its narrative is heavy. The movie has 5 writers, for crying out loud. She-Hulk, in my opinion, did this better, and these are only as good as the attempts. I'll send you a link to my review of Deadpool and Wolverine, and you can read it from there. Again, I had a bigger plan for this, but as John Wick's Winston would say, such is life. And that's from Stefan H. And I paraphrased a lot of that just for time, because this is a big jam-packed episode. But thank you so much for writing in. And yes, fandoms are definitely not for me. I like to take things on an individual basis. Or sometimes if it's an actor or a director, you know? You see Steve Buscemi in something, you're going to see it.
Yeah.
They just announced that they're doing a new, One Tree Hill series.
Oh, gosh, we're firing off.
And so for you, are you yes, I'm in because it's
No.
One Tree Hill? Or are you
No.
just no, this is...
It's very layered. My feelings are very, very layered. And
I know that's a show that you didn't necessarily love through and through. Yeah.
Right. But I love it because it was the start of my podcast network. And Tree Hill Talk will always be very special to me. But I have a lot of... If you guys want to talk about this, reach out. Send me an email for sure, because I can go into 20, 30 minutes discussion about this, and I don't want to waste time. People are here for movie friends and Robin Hood.
If anyone has an idea about One Tree Hill revival, please send us an email.
Yeah, please. I would love to talk to you about it. I'd love to hear how you feel.
Next email, subject line is September 21st / the gun range. Hi, movie friends. How's it going? Missed you during August. I hope your hiatus was restful and relaxing. Well, from our 15-second summaries, it doesn't sound like it.
You can decide.
Sometime since the last time we talked, my best friend had to move his wedding up a weekend to September 21st, putting the nail in the coffin on any dreams I had of making it to the Movie Friends live show. It was a tough call, but as I'm supposed to officiate the nuptials, I couldn't really bail on that. September 21st is also my wife's birthday.
Oh my gosh.
And the subject of a very good Earth, Wind, and Fire song.
Yep.
So a stacked day.
Amazing.
A lot of things to consider.
Yes.
Officiating a wedding, your wife's marriage, celebrating with the Earth, Wind, and Fire song. Know that I will be with you in spirit and urging all my people on the Big Apple to go in my stead. Now, we got to move along, but I just wanted to note that they wrote urging all my people on the Big Apple. And I've never thought about it that way. But it makes more sense, because if you were in the Big Apple, you'd be a worm. Anyway, switching topics.
This is so silly.
Switching topics, I wanted to ask about the place you and Michelle met, the gun range. Now, we'll clear this up, but neither of you seem particularly like weapons enthusiasts. So I wanted to ask what your experience there was like, and moreover, how, if at all, it affected the way you see guns in movies. During Swashbuckling September, we may be dealing more with flintlocks than semi-autos, but still, bullets are bullets. Long live the podcasters, your friend Paul, Dune Buggy.
Oh my gosh, June Buggy. I didn't even know he was considering coming.
Please don't do that. Let me just say, September 21st, Long Island, New York. It's a free show. We're going to be talking about Space Jam. You need to come out. RSVP on our website, but please don't come from far away. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. You should. Hop a flight.
And like now is the time. Now is the time because we're in September. So
We are in September. And folks, everybody doesn't believe me. We're actually getting close to the point where we may have to turn people away. So you need to RSVP to be on that list.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a whole lot to unpack in this email. I will just, to clarify, Michelle and I did not meet at the gun range. We worked at the same gun range that a bunch of our friends worked at. Separate times, though.
Yeah, we never worked there together.
Where did we meet, Michelle?
We met at a youth group scavenger hunt. And
Yes.
I went with my friend who is friends with Seth. And we
Yep.
went with a couple other friends. And they were put into the same group. And I was put alone with Seth and another kid.
Yep. It was me, Michelle, and a kid that neither of us knew.
And I had to spend like 6 to 8 hours with Seth.
It was an all day. We met
insane.
Super early, and neither of us went to this church. So
you didn't go to this church?
No,
I don't think I knew that. Why were you there?
So
why
like,
were we there?
To meet each other. That's
right.
how it happened. We would have met each other anyway because through high school,
Mutual
all
friends.
of our friends,
Sure.
yeah, we were all friends with each other. So.
We officially met at a youth group event that neither of us attended the church.
And you know what? It made sense that the first thing that we did together was an extremely long, arduous process that was fun.
We were meant to embark on projects together.
Yes.
Wow, I never thought of it like that.
Also, just want to say, bullets are not bullets. There are bullets, and then there are shells.
Mm-hmm.
And
yep.
I don't know about you, but for me, when I'm watching movies and people say, like, a bullet, and they're talking about shotgun shells, that does really bother me because those are different things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you ever notice anything with weapons when you're
not really?
Because
I feel like everything I choose to watch on my own does not involve such weaponry.
Well,
so
I mean, the OC, Donnie.
Life is what you make it. I love that you keep bringing Donnie up.
There are several guns in the OC. By the way, folks, if you didn't listen, during August, we put out our episodes on the OC season 2. You should check it out.
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
But yeah, sometimes just the way people, like when you're shooting a shotgun or a pistol or a rifle, you can't just hold it willy-nilly.
Yes, and how you load it too.
How you load, like people waving barrels in front of people. Like all that stuff is really bad gun safety. And if you shoot a weapon, there's so much force.
Right.
It would fly out of your hands the way that people shoot them in movies.
Sure. And like the kickback and how you
have
position it against your shoulder.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'll see people shoot, when you shoot a handgun, which Michelle and I did not work with the handguns.
No.
When you shoot a handgun, you can't just hold it in one hand like loosely. It would literally fly and hit you in the face.
Yeah.
Unless you're like, Andre the Giant and you have incredible grip. But yeah. Well, anyway, thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
If you want to send us questions, please, actually, we would love it if you asked us questions about ourselves. If you've been listening for a while and you're like, what's going on here?
Yeah, I'm curious. What are they into?
One time I responded to a tweet from a journalist up where I live about a movie theater closing. And they sent me a message and asked if they could interview me quickly for an article that they were writing. And I mentioned the podcast, and then they put in the article that Michelle and I are married.
That was so funny. Seth and his wife, Michelle.
Yes. Yeah, Seth. And the podcast that he runs with his wife, Michelle. And I think she put your full name, too.
She did.
I was like, well, that's not true. So I sent it to Michelle, and I thought it was really funny.
My reaction was, she spelled my last name right.
Yeah.
So, okay, cool.
Right,
fine.
So I had to quickly, and she very quickly put an addendum. Not that anyone on earth would ever find
Right.
that or know the difference. But
Also,
you got to get the record straight.
That you have to get the record straight. And I think because we're too much in it, I would never just assume we're married. But
No.
I guess if it's like, oh, I'm doing a podcast with, a person and
I think a lot of
a woman.
I
Yeah.
think a lot of people podcast with their spouse.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've done a ton of episodes with Anthony.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. I just did an episode with my wife on
Yeah.
The Exorcist.
Oh, fun.
You ever hear of it?
Sounds familiar. Yes.
Patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. I do a series of horror movies and weirdo movies with my wife, Jean Marie. It's a lot of fun. You should check it out. Speaking of setting the record straight, we're getting back into discussing movies. We're talking about The Adventures of Robin Hood. And before we watch a movie for the first time, we record our pre-watch thoughts. So this was Michelle's first time. So let's listen to that real quick.
Swashbuckling. The theme for this month, and what a mouthful of a word that is. And truthfully, never even heard of it until this theme was chosen. So I'm sitting down to watch The Adventures of Robin Hood, which when Seth said we were going to be watching Robin Hood, I was like, oh, Robin Hood, the Disney movie? Which we all had a crush on that character, right? Like Robin Hood. It's a cutie. And then I was like, oh, Robin Hood, Men in Tights? That's also a great one too. But no. We are watching The Adventures of Robin Hood. I don't even think this is the original Robin Hood, or there is a movie earlier to this because, again, when I was doing searching, I wanted to make sure I watched the right movie. And there is one that is earlier than this. So, anyway, I look forward to this watch.
Swashbuckling.
So I keep, it is hard for me to say this word.
It's a mouthful.
Swashbuckling.
Yeah. Not only is it a mouthful, it's like a gross mouthful. Like I feel like your mouth has to make spit as it says it.
Correct. Oh. And I guess it kind of fits the type of movies these are.
You think so?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. So Swashbuckler. When our patron Skylar suggested this.
Hey. Yes. Okay.
Everyone was very excited about it. Which, no shade to this movie style or that suggestion, but each month we compile all the nominees from the patrons and then we put it out there for the vote, and everyone was like, Swashbuckling September, oh my goodness. I was like, what is happening here? So I always just thought it was pirates. Did you think it was pirates?
I had no idea what it meant.
So
everybody's going off in the Discord with excitement, and I'm over here being like, what the hell? And I'm Googling it. I'm like, what is this? I don't even know what this means.
Michelle's like, I know I'm not a movie guy, but
like, come on, I've never heard of this. And I was like, oh, swords.
Yeah.
Men
and that's
swords.
What it turns out to be is it doesn't have anything to do with pirates. So swashbuckler is a compound of swash, which is archaic, to swagger with a drawn sword.
Mm-hmm.
So you would say he was swashing about. And buckler, which is a small shield gripped in the fist. So he's a swashbuckler. He walks around with his sword and shield. Okay. And then a lot of other, I say a lot, like 2 or 3. Come on, who am I kidding? Other definitions are like a person who goes on a brave adventure.
Romanticizes adventure.
So yes. I'm like, so that's anybody. Like,
I know.
What is swashbuckling then?
Right.
So, all of that aside, you thought that the fox from
Robin Hood is
Robin Hood was attractive.
Such a babe. And I think that's like a known fact.
Okay, sure.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, I've when you mentioned Robin Hood, like I said in my pre-watch thought, I was like, yes, I love the Disney animated film. And then I was like, and you're like, no. And I'm like, oh, Men in Tights, great. And you're like, no. And I'm like, oh, there's more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So And yes, the other point that you made is yes, there are older Robin Hood
Yes.
movies than
Yes.
this. Yeah, if you're sitting around at home being angry that there's so many remakes and reboots and sequels, hey man, go back to the 1910s and 1920s. What did we find? There's like 8 Little Women movies.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, let's just like, play with the classics, right?
Exactly.
Just
What
make our
else?
own version.
Look, you're creating a new art form. What else are you gonna
Exactly.
do? You're like,
Exactly.
hey, give me that book over there.
Right.
Yeah, let's
Right.
make that. Before we get further into our discussion, we need to write down our guesses for each other's ratings for this movie. And
Grab my pen.
so I actually have a pen too. I normally have a pencil.
It's
That's
a
my
new
one
era.
click.
It's a
I
new
know.
era. Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna write down. I feel good, but I'm still gonna give like a conservative guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. My rating is locked in.
Mine is also locked in. I almost just showed it to you right now. That's how long it's been since we've done this.
Don't cheat.
This is a big movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's big sets, big open spaces, huge crowds, jumping, roping,
Well,
swinging
sure.
on ropes.
Swinging.
Yeah.
Swinging in the
Do you call that
trees.
roping?
I would probably just call it swinging.
Okay. All right. At one point, Robin Hood grabs a vine and swings like it's Tarzan.
Yeah. A bunch of them do it.
Are there
His
big
little
vines in England like that?
gaggle. Well, just there's just this gaggle of lost boys.
Instead of the merry men, it's the gaggle of glad gents.
No, my crown. I'm
Oh
doing
no.
that. I don't
So
want my-
yeah, Michelle, you went to Medieval Times last night. You watched. So Thursday night, you watch Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Saturday night, you go to Medieval Times.
Yeah.
Were you having flashbacks?
Well, what's crazy, and this is the movie Friends effect that we always speak about.
Yeah,
The last movie we covered was Cable Guy.
it's insane.
And in the Cable Guy, they go to Medieval Times. Haven't thought about Medieval Times since the last time I went, which was like over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And so we talked about it on the movie. And then a couple of days ago, my friend's like, hey, you want to go to Medieval Times? And I was like, what? Yes. Also, this is perfect going into Swashbuckling month.
Right.
I mean,
Absolutely.
like, what the heck? What
Yeah.
the actual heck?
Did you see sword fights?
Oh, yeah.
Were they
Jousting.
impressive?
There's a whole thing. We eat a
Wow.
feast. Horses. You each have like a house. So we were our night was yellow. And so every time
Oh.
he battled, we were like, yeah! And then you boo the other side. It's great. It's rowdy.
It is really crazy.
Yeah.
That these two movies are connected by you going to Medieval Times.
I know.
People are listening like, that's not crazy.
No, it is
It is.
because why would I go in New Jersey too? Like this isn't
Oh
close.
no, you had to go to New Jersey?
Yeah.
That's terrible. I'm sorry.
Well, it was a good time. It's a good time.
Wow.
And there were 6 of us, and half of us have never been, and half of us, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do they have a vegetarian option?
They did. So when I went years and years and years and years ago, there wasn't. And so I got like a potato. I got the side. And now there's an actual vegetarian or vegan option.
Whoa.
So
What did you
Medieval
get?
Times has been updated. I got a rice bowl. They just give you a rice bowl with beans and usual. What's funny though is in Medieval Times there's no utensils.
Right.
Because there were no utensils. But for the vegetarian bowl, they gave me a fork.
Did you use your hands anyway?
No, it was rice.
Yeah.
But everyone around me had their chicken joint, their chicken leg, and
their mutton joint.
Their mutton joint.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a lot of questions for you about this.
Actually, I would like to start off.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, why 2 directors?
Because William Keighley, he filmed a lot of the outside stuff, but basically Michael Curtis came in and kind of took over.
Oh.
Yes, so this became a Michael Curtis film.
But Keighley still got recognition?
Credit, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
That's my only question for you.
Okay.
No, literally, that was my first, why 2 directors?
Very cool. I thought maybe we could just go through by characters.
Sure.
Rather than try to go through the whole movie.
Yeah.
Robin Hood is a pretty well-known story. A lot of the adaptations of Robin Hood hit the high points. You know, you've got Lady Marion, Maid Marion. You've got a tournament where someone shoots an arrow through another arrow. You've got a hood stealing. You know what I mean? Like Prince John, Richard. It's all kind of there. So if you're not super familiar with the story of Robin Hood, just watch this movie and then,
And it's
you'll
like
be familiar.
essentially steal from the rich, give to the poor.
Well, that's what's weird about this one.
And wear green tights.
He's like, I'm going to steal from the rich and then keep it for the king.
Well, right.
But I'm going to steal a bunch of your food and give that to the poor.
Right. Like we want to feed, but we're not going to keep your money or jewels because we still honor King Richard.
Yes. Yes.
We're loyal to King Richard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I figured we'd just start off with Robin Hood. Errol Flynn as Robin Hood. How did you feel about him?
He's extremely charming
Mm-hmm.
with confidence. And I think he did a great job in this movie. I've never seen him in anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my introduction to Errol Flynn. And what I've, upon some research, this is what he's most famous for.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have you seen him in anything else?
No. And I actually recently watched this for the first time.
Yeah.
Just a few months ago. I was looking, I was going to log my 4,000th film on Letterboxd.
Wow. Amazing.
And I was like, you know what? I want to do kind of like a big classic that I haven't seen before. And I had realized, I was like, I've never seen a movie with Errol Flynn. So it just kind of lined up. Like, I don't sit down and plan out my watches quite like that,
Mm-hmm.
But 4,000, it's like a big number. And for a nerd who's nerdy about movies, it's like, okay, I'll do this and it'll be something that I'll remember, right?
Feels right.
Sure, absolutely. And so I really enjoyed it, loved Errol Flynn. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. Look at this guy. He's so dashing and charming. And this movie is so silly and goofy.
But
I would say
Robin
almost
Hood,
doofy.
It is though, but that's how Robin Hood is.
Yeah. It's all very like lighthearted. Like he's like, and this is something that tons of movies do. But when him and Sir Guy are fighting at the end, and Sir Guy is like, "Do you know any prayers?" And Robin Hood's like, "I'll say one for you, friend." It's so stupid. And then this movie is just this series of Robin Hood like beating people up, and then be like, "You could be my friend now," and they're like,
right.
"Sure."
Well, it's like I like to challenge you. I want to poke the bear, but it's all just in good fun.
Yeah, you want to see the cut of their jib.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. I'm going to torture you a little bit.
And then also, there are no plans. And I did text this to you. I wanted to talk to you about this movie so bad.
I know. I was really trying to hold back my screenshots I was sending to you.
But the one thing that I did send to you, I was just like, no one has a plan in this movie. There's none. Robin Hood shows up at Sir Guy's place just carrying a deer.
Yeah, well, he wasn't.
He does a spin move and knocks out the guards with the dead deer, and then waltzes into the thing. It's insane. And so you think, oh, maybe there will be someone covering him from above, and he'll be able to escape. No, he just punches his way out. Mm-hmm. They go to the archery tournament. Mm-hmm. There's got to be some plan. Oh, he's gonna outsmart them. They haven't started. No plan. Just gonna punch my way over and over.
But he is the plan. That's it. He's the plan.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then later, Marion finds out what's going to happen, that he's going to be executed. So it's this whole long process of like getting Bess, who we will talk about. Yes. Getting Bess to reveal where Much, which is the most crazy name ever, where Much is hiding. She goes to the bar. She convinces them that she's okay, here's the plan. And the screen fades out, right? So you go to the gallows and you see them setting up Robin Hood to be hung, and they have, you start to see all the merry men around. And so it's like, oh, what's the plan? What are they going to do? Are they going to shoot the rope? No, they just start killing everybody.
Right. On that point, I rewound that scene.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I think I missed the plan.
Yes,
I think
exactly.
I missed what our plan was. But you know what? You just have to. They worked it out. They
The
snuck
plan
in.
is ride in, kill people, leave.
The plan is to dress in disguise.
Hmm.
Like, how did that go down? She
You
also
have
is
a
like,
bunch
I
of monk's
have a
robes.
plan. We don't actually hear her tell the plan.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
and
the
so,
plan.
when you're watching like Ocean's 11, they give the
Well,
plan,
well,
but
right.
then later on the plan is revealed and you're like, "Oh, that was so smart. Good plan."
Mhm.
No plans. I guess in
Well,
the medieval times,
no.
what could you do? There were no security cameras. You couldn't
Right. You
fake a
imagine?
handprint
Oh my
scan.
God.
The plan was, "We'll
Right.
kill them." And they were like, "That's
I'm going to
good."
dress in a similar cloak. I'm going to have my arrow ready
Right,
and
right.
it's all with looks.
Yes, yes,
I would
yes.
be terrible about this because I have awful eyesight. You could never trust me to give a look. I'd give a look to the wrong, or because I'm so expressive with my face,
Right.
you'd think I'm giving you a look and someone would end up dead that shouldn't.
They'd be like, "Why is that monk so happy?"
Does she have a twitch? Is that the
Yeah.
look?
I hate to do this part, but I have to.
You have?
So
Oh no.
I'm
Okay.
watching Errol Flynn. This guy's great. So in preparation for this episode, I start looking into, yes, the little mustache. I start looking into Errol Flynn, and it turns
Mm,
out that Errol Flynn might be the most evil person who has ever existed.
yeah.
I don't know if you
Mm-hmm.
saw anything about that.
I did. I had to stop.
I did
Like,
not stop.
no, you didn't.
I kept going and going, and I was like, literally, all my research into this is just about Errol Flynn's life.
Wow.
When I started reading, the first few things I saw were like, Errol Flynn was a rapscallion and
Yes.
a ladies' man. And so I'm
Partied
like,
at
okay,
Hearst Castle.
yeah, this might be like normal Hollywood debauchery, and he's probably like a skeevy guy. And then I kept reading, and it was like Errol Flynn assisted in selling indigenous people into slavery before he became a Hollywood star.
Oh
And
no.
then it's like and if you're listening to this and you're like, "Oh, Seth, come on, you can't compare people to modern times." Just wait. Trust me, and look
Oh
into it
gosh.
for yourself. Errol Flynn had peepholes and two-way mirrors installed throughout his house so that he could spy on people, his guests.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really
I read that.
crazy, not
Mm-hmm.
cool. His last girlfriend was like 15 years old. Uh Nutso stuff. And I don't want to dwell on this because we're going to talk about this movie, but I had no idea about it. And so I was like, I need to share this
And
information.
he died young and he died at 50.
Yeah, I mean, he really I don't even want to say he lived life. He just was into
Yeah.
a lot of bad stuff for a long time, and
Yeah.
caught up with him for sure. But probably for the best, because it turns out he was a rapscallion and not a good
Yes.
guy.
Yes.
And as I'm reading all this, I'm like, how has no one made a movie like an American Psycho esque film about Errol Flynn? You know what I mean?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that should be the next project.
That's what we should write.
An Errol Flynn expose starring like Ryan Gosling as like a psycho who just happens to make it big in Hollywood.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Well, moving on from Errol Flynn.
He was great in this, though. We give him
Oh,
that. He's
oh,
so good at Robin Hood, and his
absolutely.
chemistry with Olivia is
Yeah.
amazing. And they've worked together before on multiple films.
Yes. So
And
they had worked on one film prior to this.
yes,
And then they went on to continue.
yes,
Yeah.
and I did read about their chemistry and how they definitely had feelings for one another, but they never got together. Not on this film, anyway.
Yeah. Probably because she was a nice person. And
And I think he was married at the time, or he was with someone, and she's like,
yeah.
"I'm not." But there was
Yeah.
chemistry there.
I think this time around, their scenes worked best for me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I did appreciate, because I was kind of like, you don't really know this person. It's that whole thing of movies where it's like you fall in love from a distance, and it's like, how long have you really spent with this person?
Yep.
Yeah, but to me, it worked better this time.
That to me makes sense in a story like this.
Yeah. So moving on, we can talk about Lady Marian,
I
Olivia
love
de
her.
Havilland.
I love
Yeah.
her because she's not a damsel in distress.
Mm-hmm.
She's great, and she's so for most of the film we just see her face,
Oh yeah.
like her small
Yeah.
face, but it's so expressive.
Mm-hmm.
She's acting really well with her looks. I love her. I
Yeah,
thought
she's
she
got
was
the
great.
little. What do you call that type of material?
I don't know, but I
It's
have
like
to
see-through.
say the headgear in this film is top notch.
Well,
It's so good. The costuming is so good.
I think
No,
a lot of the costuming in this is so good. I don't know that 100 dudes all wearing the same exact Robin Hood outfit
that's part of it. They have to blend in.
with
I don't know how they all got green tights at such
it's
short notice, but how'd they
the
do that?
I get that it's supposed to be camouflage. It's like brown and green for the forest, but no tree is this color.
Oh, I took it as let's trick them thinking we're all Robin Hood. They're his.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
he is Peter Pan, and those are the Lost Boys.
Right. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Anyway, you have to give your thoughts on Marion. I don't want to. I almost lost my
Yeah,
comment.
I like her. I posted a GIF uh of her where she kind of like is like looking at him and then like bites her lip because she's hungry, but she doesn't want to
Yeah.
like give
Oh,
him
that
the
scene's so good.
satisfaction of
So good. Yeah.
knowing that she's eating his food. And
Yeah.
yeah, one thing that I found out is that the original script for this, so this was originally supposed to be James Cagney, who's a very, very physical performer, right? Great dancer. He could have done this, but he ends up leaving Warner Brothers, and this movie is shelved for 3 years.
Mm.
In that time, there's different rewrites, there's different ideas. At one point, Robin Hood was going to bring a dead body into that first banquet instead of a dead deer.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Which maybe I'd like to see that version. Anyway, one thing that they did though, they very purposefully updated the language from being like super old English authentic to now it's just kind of there's some theys and thuses thrown in, but for the most part you can just watch this and completely understand what they're saying.
Yeah.
And they talk with like the tempo and way that we speak for the most part nowadays. And I thought
Interesting.
that that was really smart because, especially for Marion, who isn't in it a ton and doesn't have like a ton of lines, I feel like if she was bogged down with all of that flowery language, it would be a little sillier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I did like, I liked all the headgear and.
So good. I mean, I took a lot of screenshots of the different hats
Mm-hmm.
and I tried to kind of superimpose my face on any of them. I spent a lot of time actually, and I had trouble with it. Uh, Specifically, this one. I really want my head.
I'll have to do a Photoshop of
Can you
you
do
as
that for
Friar
me?
Tuck. Sure.
I
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
love to wear what Friar Tuck is wearing.
Yes,
And I showed
absolutely.
Aunt, and Aunt was like, "I think you need more of a round face."
I can
But
do
I
it.
was like, "Just
It'll
make
be
my
tough.
face bigger." You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. It will
Yeah,
look weird, but I'll do it.
that's fine. I want to wear it. I want to wear it.
Quickly on Marion,
Yeah, sorry.
I think the scene that I love the most with them is when he's climbing through her window and then he's like, "Oh, I guess I'll leave and jump on these soldiers over here." And she admits to like loving him, and
It was sweet. I ate it up. I ate it
yeah, I
up.
thought it was good.
I loved it.
Yeah.
And also the whole like you have to leave, I have to stay. Here's the reasons why.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
And she
liked it.
becomes like a spy. Like
Yeah.
it's like Marion the spy
Yeah.
for a little bit of the movie, and then
Yeah.
she's
It's
thrown in the
good.
dungeon. Yeah.
It's good.
So Friar Tuck. Um, growing up watching the Disney version of Robin Hood, it was never my favorite. Like,
Yeah,
it wasn't
right.
one I watched over and over. But I remember Friar Tuck and that voice
Mhm.
that the actor does in the Disney
Mhm.
version. It's very memorable, and he's a big like jolly guy. And then in this one, Friar Tuck is introduced sleeping while fishing.
And holding a mutton joint.
So you get the picture. Robin Hood's friends purposefully don't tell him that he's like a master swordsman when he goes to like pick a fight with him. I guess because they think it's funny for him to maybe be killed.
Also, if you were to look at Friar Tuck, would you think he's a master swordsman?
Listen, bodies come in all shapes and sizes. Talents come in all kinds of bodies. We're told that Friar Tuck is a master swordsman. We are never shown anything that would lead us to believe that that's the truth.
The best part of this whole sequence is great.
It's very funny, yeah.
Robin starts to eat the mutton joint, gets the fish. He has a line set up, puts it in his lap. And then they start dueling. Mm-hmm. And then you have Will just setting up to play. Mm-hmm. What instrument is that?
Well, I think that's...
Is that a different sequence?
That's the Little John one.
Oh, I can't...
Yes.
I'm going by my screenshots, and they're very... okay.
It's very similar. Like, it just keeps... The same thing just keeps happening over and over.
Of capturing people to join the crew, essentially.
Yeah, and Will Scarlet...
Oh, another one I love so much. But okay,
the guy who wears red.
Well, right. It's easier to keep track of him that way. But okay, to stay on Friar Tuck, we have this scene where they're like fighting, and then they're just like, ha 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 ha.
Yeah, everything ends in chuckling. Everything.
The
movie ends with Robin Hood being like, hey, King Richard, yeah, hopefully I'll follow all your orders. Ha 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 ha.
Everything ends in a chuckle.
Yeah. It's
Friend,
nuts.
that was fun.
Right.
That's it.
Robin Hood makes Friar Tuck carry him across the river?
Yes.
As if he's like a donkey or something?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't understand this whole thing. So then he's just like, all right, man, my men have everything except for spiritual guidance. That's where you come in. And he's like, yeah, sure. And that's how Friar Tuck talks in this movie. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like Will Scarlet shows up at the end and he sees Friar Tuck and he's like gonna attack him, and Robin Hood's like, no, he's one of us. And Will Scarlet is like, seems like three of us, because he's a bigger guy. And then he's like, and 12 to boot, and pulls his sword out like he's gonna stab him. I'm like, this guy's a madman. Like, this Friar Tuck seems like there's something like a screw loose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think all of them have a little bit of a screw loose.
So, staying on Friar Tuck and hats, I sent you one other thing as I was rewatching last night.
Yes.
There is a plot to capture Robin Hood because no one can capture him. Yeah. Even though he's, running a refugee camp in the woods with a bunch of people who can't walk, and there's 100 merry men, but nobody can find him. Fine. So they devise a plan to host an archery tournament because who can resist? He's the best shot in England. He can't resist. And it turns out that's true. He can't. That's the whole reason this whole thing happens. It's not a plan. It's not a heist. Robin Hood isn't like, okay, I'm going to go in and do this. But while I'm doing the competition, you guys are going to be stealing nothing. Robin Hood is just like, yeah, I'll go. I'll go do that. Anyway, Friar Tuck shows up wearing this hat. It is like a black, wide-brimmed, all-around, flat-brim hat. Like a sun hat, almost?
It looks like it, but felt material.
It's got all these beads around it, and then it's got a big seashell right in the front.
Yeah.
And this is his disguise to blend in.
I'm looking at it right now. It is so... It's so... It makes me feel like they were just like, last minute, just grab it.
Right, just grab something.
The department was like, give me the hat I wore into work today. This will work.
And it's crazy, too, because it's like, has word spread that Friar Tuck has joined up with Robin Hood? Just show up as Friar Tuck.
Right. And also, like, no one else in this universe is wearing this style of hat.
No,
It
no,
does not
it's a
fit
left field. No,
into like 1190. So,
Robin Hood is wearing like a different kind of steepled hat.
yep.
Just like cocked to the side, so you can't tell it's
Yes.
him.
Yes.
Little John is wearing like a knight's helmet,
Yep.
and then Friar Tuck is wearing this seashell hat.
I'm telling you, they costume panicked. and
Like
they
this would
just-
be like if we were trying to blend in at a concert and everyone was wearing like beanies and baseball caps, and I showed up wearing like one of those giant foam cowboy hats.
right.
Or if you were wearing that crown.
Right.
Like totally normal. No one will notice me. It's crazy.
It's so crazy.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's good. It's amazing.
It's
and
good.
and Friar Tuck does, he sword fights against Robin Hood. He's fighting at the end. So it's not like he's, shown to be like a loser or anything, but
Yeah, he's not
he's a
incapable.
nutso character.
Yeah.
Sheriff of Nottingham is shown to be a loser. He just continually is like, I would catch Robin Hood, but it's hard.
Right.
At the beginning, when everyone's fighting, he's like, oh, if only I could reach him. I dug him as a comedic relief kind of guy.
Yeah.
So Prince John, Claude Rains, the great Claude Rains.
Mm-hmm. What makes him the great Claude Rains?
He gets a mention in science fiction double feature, the song that opens Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh
Claude
my God.
Rains was the Invisible Man, and he was the Invisible Man.
Wow.
Yes. And not only was he the Invisible Man.
Facts.
But, well, yeah, of course. But our good friend Bess from this movie, she's also in that movie.
Oh, I love her so much.
Yes.
That's great.
He's great because he's in Casablanca, Lawrence of Arabia, Notorious, The Invisible Man, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, Robin Hood, The Wolfman, now Voyager. He's great. He's Claude Rains. And
Claude Rains.
his performance in The Invisible Man is like it's pretty amazing. It's 5 years prior to this. And it's a lot more like over the top crazy person.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like as Prince John, I appreciate it. It's like the evil and the smarm just like drips out of his mouth. Like he's so like reserved. He's not like throwing tantrums and throwing fits.
No.
He's like somewhat in control, but he's also so pathetic.
Yeah.
I love him. How did you feel about Prince
he was
John?
great. He was great. I got a kick out of him. I appreciated the blunt bangs. Again, I'm very fixated on everybody's headwear and haircuts. And
Prince John's hair in this is criminal. It is. It should be against the law.
such sharp lines.
My question that I wrote down for you is Prince John a turd?
I like maybe like a small dropling adjacent.
Oh my gosh.
Not full turd. Not
See,
full
that's
turd.
surprising to me because as I was watching, I was like, oh man, Michelle has got to be like, this guy's a turd.
No, he's not like a full turd. Just
Okay.
I'm looking at him right now. I think that's just like dropling.
Got it. And he's super devious, like
Right. Like he's
plotting to have your brother's kingdom taken, and
I know.
You're telling everyone there's a ransom and there's not a ransom, and
Yeah, but something about him I liked. So
wow, so you would like vote for Prince John?
no, I wouldn't. No, I'm saying as a character, me watching. He didn't
okay.
irk me enough to get the full turd.
Oh, got it.
Rating. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his outfits are outrageous.
Right.
Outrageous.
Right.
This is, I think, where the costuming works best.
For him?
Yeah, I think it works best on him because the movie keeps showing us like really despicable things that his soldiers and Sir Guy's soldiers are doing. Just like stealing all the inventory from like a butcher, attacking a woman, like hanging people.
Like
at one point they're
relentless.
Yeah, they're hanging a guy and he's like, make him dance, and it's really intense. Robin Hood talks about them splitting people's tongues and lopping off ears. And, we see all the people who he says like their houses have been burned down and their families have been starved to death. Robin Hood is delivering all this with like a smile, by the way.
Of course.
But John's like rule over these people is like very, it's very, very brutal.
Yeah.
And so you see all them, and then you see the costumes that he's in, and it's like, I feel like it expresses like part of his evil, that he's like dressing so opulently and like ornately. Yeah.
Well, it's a good visual for showing the class divide too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a bit of like not just class, but like also like race, because it's the Saxons and the Normans.
Right.
Yes. And I tried looking into all of this because I've heard Saxon before, obviously, and I'm reading into and I'm like, how far am I going to go with this? Nobody cares.
Right.
Like,
right. It's one side versus another side.
We're talking about history from the year 1000. Yeah, but that does play into it a little bit. And then, also like the discussion of class, because Robin Hood isn't just like some guy. Like, he's not like a poor farmer guy. Like, he's a Sir Robin, and I think probably Will Scarlet, that's the friend that he starts the movie with. It seems like they're like a little more perhaps well-to-do people. And all of the other sirs and lords, they all side with John because they kind of see the tide turning. And Robin Hood like betrays all of his money and upbringing and status and all that stuff to like defend the poor. And it all is tied up in, like you already mentioned, like their loyalty to Richard,
who's captured. Yes.
So Richard went away to fight in the Crusades. This was the third crusade, I believe. And on his way back, he's captured. And Robin Hood like gives him some grief later in the movie when he doesn't realize that it's him. He's like, yeah, well, maybe if Arcane wasn't off fighting in a foreign land and taking care of people, I would like him more. It's also so strange to me that no one knows what
no
Richard
one recognized
looks like.
him. I mean, he like, yes, he's not dressed in his like what he would be wearing if he was up with his brother, but like, I mean, no one can recognize the face. It just goes back to Friar Tuck wearing the hat. Like,
right, exactly. It's just like, oh, no one knows this person if he's wearing a slightly different thing.
That's right. Right. Yeah.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but this is a great cast of lively characters, interesting characters. Perhaps the pacing of this movie is a little weird because we're just kind of going through episodes,
Yeah.
But I think the cast of characters are all really great. And when you have someone as charming as Errol Flynn in the lead and as like despicable as Claude Rains as the villain, it's really impressive that the cast of supporting characters aren't like just totally washed away by their, like greatness. So I don't want to put words in your mouth, but maybe the MVP of the movie is Una O'Connor as Bess.
Yes, Bess.
How did you feel about Bess?
She's so good. She's also a comic relief.
Yeah.
Without being. I love how, well, first off, we really only have 2 women in this film. And they're both extremely strong. And I love Bess's facial expressions. She starts to get the feels for Much.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And like instant. And it's I love it so much. And I love how much she's down to help him, and she's like sneaking off to be with him.
Yes.
I'm like interested in this story. Let's zoom in on them.
Yeah. Much and Bess.
It's great. How'd you feel about Bess?
Oh, I'm head over heels for Una O'Connor.
Yeah.
I think Bess is so funny. And when she's introduced, it's a little bit like, oh, here comes this like lady with a weird voice.
Yep.
you know, but then she gets to be in more scenes and she gets to continue and she gets to do things. And like you said, there's a story. You're not just interested in her because like, oh, here's this weird lady. Like, oh, I want to see more of the weird lady.
Right.
You're interested in her because you're like, oh, she has these like principles. Like when Marion asks her to leave her alone with Robin Hood, you know.
Yep.
She's not just a pushover feather of a character. She's got principles. She has thoughts about things. She's betraying those principles. She's finding her sixth set of wedding rings, I suppose. I think she says at one point she's been married 5 times. It's either 3 or 5 times. I can't remember. And she's great. Like, she's amazing.
Yeah, and she's there to guide, but for what Marion wants, not what she should do.
Yeah.
Which I love.
I can see a version of this character, and whether, you know, I'm sure with a production this high, this is all written. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Una O'Connor is going to the studio being like, we should change the best
going
character.
Rogue. Yeah.
You know?
Right.
So yeah, credit to the writing, but I can see a version of this where she's just like in the corner, like me, and like Robin Hood shoves her into a closet and locks the door,
shuts her up,
like, and now he's alone with her. And I can see a version of this where she's spying on the merry men, and that's why she knows where they are, because she, you know. But it's not that. Like, her and Marion have a relationship. Her and Much have a relationship. She has her own position in this story and in the kingdom. I love it. Like, I really, to me, Bess, the story of Bess and Much is a 5-star movie. Like,
absolutely. I want to watch that.
Yeah.
I want to watch that.
Quickly on Much, like, when we're introduced to him, you're kind of like, who is this guy? And then he stops the assassin who goes to kill Richard.
Yeah.
And you know, he gets some stuff to do. And then later on, he's bonking soldiers on the head during the big fight. So yeah, it's not just that these side characters are funny or like made fun of. They're real full characters.
And they have a purpose.
Yeah, they have a purpose. Yeah. But yeah, I love, oh my God, love her so much.
Yeah.
So I did want to talk about one scene, which is the final fight and the sword fight between Sir Guy and Robin Hood.
Mm-hmm.
And we go into the big spiral thing. We're jumping off of little cliffs and we go into shadow fighting.
So cool.
How did you feel?
Loved it. And I wrote down sword fighting shadows are super cool.
Yeah.
Like that whole, it feels like a dance. The camera movement is awesome. I mean, like, really, this is a really cool sequence. However, well, do you have anything on that until I go into my final thoughts on this?
No, I just want, like, you know, I didn't look as far into the choreography. I saw like a little nugget.
Yeah.
Which was that this kind of helped change how sword fighting was done in Hollywood. Like,
nice. Okay.
It went from like very, very clean line fencing to more like gross, sloppy fighting. That's a lot of the fights in this. Like, it's just like rough and tumble. Like,
It is. But when we get the final stab into the stomach, it literally looks like we're just booping.
Oh, absolutely.
And he's just like, ah! And he falls, and there's no blood on the sword.
Well, it's a different time.
I know, and that's what I told myself, but I literally wrote down, I need blood. Put a little tip on the sword. I mean, we had some on the head.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. You could put some on.
It's too clean. It's like the Pillsbury Doughboy just went, woohoo. Boop. Gotcha.
That's pretty great. I'm going to try to remember that for any type of not well looking stabbing or hits in the future.
It really feels like
it's a Pillsbury Doughboy hit. Yeah. I think you do that, or you run him through, and then you look at each other for a bit. You hold
Yeah.
it. You hold on to it. You say one last smarmy thing. But yeah, it is just kind of like, it's
But
done.
like you said, this is kind of the beginning, right? And so look at where we're now and how
Sure,
the
sure,
evolution of sword fighting and battle, and we definitely get more blood as things go on. So
yeah. But it's super iconic.
yeah, it's
It's
really good.
probably that very brief moment where they go into sword fighting in the shadows. Probably like the lasting image from this movie, over time.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's beautiful. And one thing that I love about going back to these films is you see the building blocks, you see the foundation of everything, and you see how they made magic with so little. Not
Yep.
to say, I mean, this was a huge production,
Yeah.
and we'll talk about that, but you don't need crazy things. I rewatched the shot from The Wizard of Oz when Dorothy opens the door and it goes from sepia into color.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't seen it in a while. And in my mind, in my remembrance, when she opens that door, there's every color imaginable, and there's like fountains going off in the background and birds flying over the head. And I'm not saying it's not great. It's amazing. It's one of the moments of movie history, right? But I was really taken aback by how kind of little is in the frame when she opens that door. You see some flowers, you see green and yellow. And if we had done that shot today, it would be just overload
Yeah.
of the senses,
Right.
and they didn't need to do that to
Right.
like create beautiful things. So it should be an inspiration for people making movies now. Go back and watch that stuff and see what they did. It just takes, like you said, great camera movement. I did want to ask you before we like kind of wrap up here. How did you feel about the color in this movie?
Oh, I think it's great. I mean,
Yeah.
it's shot 11 Technicolor cameras they used for this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Uh, especially like Marion's green outfit is so stunning.
Yeah.
That was my favorite look. I mean, I felt like the color was just beautiful and vibrant, and very much enjoyed it.
Yeah. I think if it wasn't for the color, this movie would be remembered, but it probably wouldn't be what it
Mm.
is. And
Mm-hmm.
thank goodness they delayed this movie 3
Mm-hmm.
years from the James Cagney version. They used the new technology. It wasn't the first movie to use this, but it's
Right.
called 3-strip Technicolor. And at first, as I was watching, I'm like, what is going on with the color in this movie? Like, it's like someone turned the tint just
Yeah,
like
the
to
saturation.
100. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it didn't bother me, but I was just kind of like, man, like what is this? But I can't imagine seeing this like on the screen
Like,
for
wouldn't
the first
your
time in
mind would be
1938.
blown? You'd
Yeah,
be blown.
absolutely. Absolutely. The only other little fact that I had is they really shot people with arrows.
Yeah.
Yes. So some of the stunt workers, they were paid extra. They were paid a lot more, and they wore a metal plate that had balsa wood on it so that the arrow would stick. And man, these arrows look amazing. When they land, there's no wobbling, there's no wiggling. It
It's like straight through.
it goes straight into that person. They look like they got shot. They look in pain because they were. It was extremely painful. But can you imagine putting your life
Right.
like, okay, this dude's going to shoot at you and he's going to hit you right in the chest. And some people, it's like while they're slightly moving. What if he hits you right in
I
the
know,
face?
like, right, you have to hit right on target, essentially.
It's insane.
Would you do this to be in the pictures?
I don't know. It would depend on how much I needed the money.
And probably where you were in life. If you're just like a single dude in your 20s, I could
Yeah.
see you doing it, Seth.
I would maybe sign up to do it. Like
Yeah.
if they did a little demonstration, and this guy was in the movie. He plays one of the dudes at the archery thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was the real deal, but it's so
Yeah.
crazy risky.
Yeah.
Like man, oh man, they would never be able to do this now. Like never.
They would just CGI it.
Yeah. So this was made for $2 million. At the time, it was the biggest budget Warner Brothers had ever done. It goes on to make 3.9 something, so close to $4 million. So it's a big, big success. This movie has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, 3.8 on Letterboxd, 97 on Metacritic.
Wow.
This was included in the Criterion Collection when they were doing Laserdiscs.
Okay.
This is on the National Registry. It was included in 1995. Roger Ebert gave it 4 stars. And so I think this might be the highest rated movie we've ever done. Wow. And like included in all of the things, like sometimes something will have 100%, but it's not in the National Registry, or, this is like just glowing pretty much across the board. And they shot this from September 26th until January 14th. So big long shoot, man.
Wow.
I did pull one section of Ebert's 2003 review, and I would really recommend people go and read it. It's not super long, but I really enjoyed reading it.
Can you link it in the show notes?
Yes, absolutely.
Cool.
I can.
So that's very accessible for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he says, the movie knows when to be simple, and it is the bond between Robin and Marion, after all, that stands at the heart of the movie. The ideal hero must do good, defeat evil, have a good time, and win the girl. The Adventures of Robin Hood is like a textbook on how to get that right. And for me, I guess I'll save it for when we give our final thoughts on the movie, but this just feels like DNA, this movie. Yeah. If you're looking for something more, you ain't gonna find it.
You have to appreciate what it is and what we're seeing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So now we go to a segment of the show where we share our happies and our crappies. It's time for happies and crappies. Happies and crappies. It's time for happies. You want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
You can go first.
Okay, I will go first. So my happy, I'm so torn, but luckily I have an option. I want my happy to be Friar Tuck's hat. Yes. I also want my happy to be Bess.
Yes.
Luckily, one of the best hats in the movie is worn by Bess when she's wearing this like red kind of like, what do you call those red a fez hat?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. At one point, Bess is wearing like a fez hat kind of a thing.
Yes.
It's absurd. But yeah, so that's going to be my happy. My crappy will be, I kind of mentioned it earlier, I don't know if I want to call it the pacing.
Yep.
Or part of the story, how the story unfolds. It's all there. But it does feel a little more episodic than epic, if that makes any sense.
That is it's like you took the words from my mouth, Seth.
Yeah. So that would be my crappy, but to me it's kind of a light crappy. Like,
yes,
watching this 3 times in, close to a month's time for me is hell. Like, I do not rewatch movies a lot, and even though I really enjoy this one, it was like woof woof woof. And so it's a light crappy for me, but
yeah,
probably my least favorite thing. What about you?
My happy is Bess's laugh.
Got it. Okay, yeah.
And then my crabby is also the pacing, because to me in the beginning was a little slow. Then we got like real into it. And then when we have the scene where Robin sneaks in and Marion into her window, I know this is now we're setting up for the plan to come, but like after that kind of like dragged for me a little bit. Then we have all the men like sitting in their cloaks.
Yes.
In there. I was like,
yes, the introduction of Richard, and it all serves. It's the good, plot.
Right? It just kind of But again, I agree with you. Like, I don't really have like a strong crappy. It's just like a note.
Yeah. So we asked our friends on Twitter what they thought, and despite this movie having near universal acclaim, very few people responded.
It doesn't surprise me. Who's reaching for this at this time,
Well, we are.
Also, Seth, how is Twitter? I left Twitter. So
I gotta tell you, Michelle, you leaving Twitter at the time when we were also taking a break, and Michelle was like not texting me as much because I was on vacation like
Yeah, well, I'm not
twice.
going to bug you. Yeah.
It was just like I had this Michelle shaped hole in my life, and I was like, oh my god, I can't even like tag her and stuff.
And like the fact that, not to go back to what we weren't going to talk about our summers away,
Yeah.
but I had no idea you announced officially about the documentary.
Well, I did it at the concert
Oh, you didn't do
that
it
I
on
went to
Twitter?
early August. Not quite.
Okay,
But
okay, okay, okay.
yeah.
So I truly have missed nothing. Got it.
Oh my gosh. So we heard from Keith Sexton at
Hey, Keith.
SexTKC.
Sexty. KC.
He says, heck yes, I will be listening. And I hope that you've listened this far, Keith, and that you're
Hey.
not disappointed in our takes
Keith,
on.
if you listened, send us a hat emoji.
Oh, okay. A hat emoji.
That's only for Keith. No one else send a hat emoji.
Philip Marinello at Philip Marinello. He's a host of the Substance Pod,
Oh.
which you should check out. He says, it was my introduction to cinema at a young age and may be the greatest adventure movie ever made.
Wow.
Wow, wow, wow. Matt at Matt_from_AZ
Hey,
said
Matt.
the score by Eric Wolfgang Korngold is fantastic in this film.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
I agree. Great, wonderful score. So there's some people that we do know. Now we go to a segment of the show where we hear from people that we don't know. It's called Half Star, 3-Star, 5-Star. All right, so these are reviews from letterboxd.com, which is an app and a website where you can log, rate, and review movies, share your reviews with friends. And we start with a half-star review, which is the lowest rating that you can give a movie. We go all the way up to a 5-star review, which is the highest rating that you can give a movie. And the half-star review, I'm going to try to do it like as Friar Tuck.
Okay.
I was thinking either Friar Tuck or Prince John, but I don't think I can do Prince John. It's not in me to be that like syrupy, sweet, and evil.
Yeah.
But I can do an overweight dude wearing a hat. That I have that nailed.
God. Okay.
The Adventures of Robin Hood is not a story of class warfare. It is the sort of centrist story that asks the question, can't we all just get along? The film posits that a legally enforced hierarchy that leaves land and material wealth in the hands of our betters is a good thing. Robin Hood, the hero of the piece, resists the evil Prince John because he's not the rightful king. Once Robin Hood restores King Richard to the throne, justice is restored, and Robin Hood receives land, wealth, and a woman. The message: there are some who are better than others, and trying to escape this natural order is wrong. Half star.
I just gave myself a sore throat doing that.
Half of me was like, wait, is he just like retelling the plot? I was like, where are we getting spicy?
So I will say
here?
there are only 4 half-star reviews for this movie, which might be the lowest. We've had some 6s, we've had some 12s.
Yeah.
4 half stars. This person in particular was very mad that this is a story that isn't about overthrowing, your
the
government.
King. Yes,
the
yes,
king,
yes.
and
you support him, which is usually not
centrist.
the way.
I don't think that Robin Hood is centrist and asking to get along. He's killing, Prince John and Sir Guy, and they're murdering.
He's choice killing. Choice killing.
Yeah, exactly. So I wouldn't describe this as centrist. And, we don't like to make fun of the people who write these reviews. These are their opinions. We're not looking to pick on anybody. But this review is nonsense. I'm sorry. If you interact with movies this way, or I should say only this way, like if this is your guide and gauge for this movie being the lowest rating possible, dude.
I just feel like his rating His explanation doesn't match
It's
the star
and you know what?
rating.
Maybe this is a joke. Maybe this is a joke.
Maybe.
I don't
Maybe it
think
is
so,
a
though.
joke.
3-star review says,
We're
the
getting
scenes
too much
with
credit.
Robin Hood and Maid Marian are so cute. This movie has more colored tights than season 1 of Gossip Girl.
Nice.
I pulled
like
that
that.
one for you.
That's good. That's good.
5-star review says, this is certainly a classic, but I don't know why it isn't often named in league with things like Citizen Kane as one of the most perfect movies ever made. Because it absolutely is.
Wow.
And I guess my only thought on that is, sometimes the fun stuff isn't held up in the same light
because it's not
as
in
the
a
serious
serious
stuff.
tone.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that shouldn't be, it shouldn't be.
No.
Movies can do a lot of things. So, all right. So we discussed the movie. We've heard from these people. Now we give our rating. We rate a movie 1 through 5 stars. We rate it as a schmovie movie film. Give our recommendations and final thoughts. Michelle, do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
I'll go first.
All right, go for it.
So what do you think I rated this?
Oh, that's right. So, like I said, I went very conservatively, but I felt like not ridiculous. So, but now after talking about it, maybe this is ridiculous. I put down that you were going to rate this 3 stars.
Okay. And is this a movie, schmovie, or film for me?
I think you'd say it's a film.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think this is a 4-star movie.
Oh, okay.
But I personally, on the Michelle scale, it's a 3.
Got it. Oh, so I was close.
You were close. So you know
Yeah.
me. It's just
Yeah.
I think it actually deserves 4 stars.
Got it.
I think this is it's the foundations.
Mm-hmm.
It's impressive filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
It looks great. And I think for a movie made in the 30s and the story, it holds up.
Yeah.
I mean, don't you feel that way? Like if a movie's taking place in like 1190,
Right.
right? And for its time period, and we're watching it in 2024, I think we can say it holds up because how could it not? Does that make
Absolutely.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. You can't. I mean, not to keep going back to that half-star guy, but I'm not applying politics to a story
Right.
from 1190.
And it's Robin Hood. It's like
It's Robin. Yeah,
right,
Robin Hood.
the tale.
I was looking into like the origins of that story, and it's from songs and poems,
Yes.
and it's all kind of been mishmashed together over the years into all this. It's a legend. Like this is a legend.
Correct.
And you had made mention there's only 2 women in this movie, and yes, if I were writing a story now, of course, people would be in this movie. But I cannot apply that metric to a story from over 1,000 years ago. I can't and I won't.
Exactly. So,
and then, like you said, going back to 1938, it's amazing that these women do anything.
Right.
And they do.
Well, right. And how the 2 of them are written and used what I think pretty well.
Yeah. I think the women are respected in this movie.
They are respected.
Yeah.
They are full-form humans. They have a say.
Yeah.
So,
like you could look at Bess and be like, "Oh no, she's a mockery."
No.
So is Friar Tuck. It's good to include people in all realms.
Right. So all of that to say, like I said, 4-star movie. I much respect it. I appreciate it for its place in movie history. I probably won't rewatch this. This is not something I'm going to reach for. But if I would recommend this depending on the person I'm speaking to.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think I'm putting down?
I wrote down 4-star movie.
Okay. So I did, like I said, I recently watched this, and when I rated it 4.5 stars. And after looking into it, I think I'm going to stick with that.
Nice.
I'm going to say 4.5 stars, which to me is like an almost perfect movie. This movie is great. It's DNA. And I would call this a movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, great shining example of a fun movie. And I would also, if I were going to make some kind of like pre-World War II, because World War II is such a, it's like 9/11 in our American history, right? It's like everything just changes after that. If I were going to make some kind of like pre-World War II educational film course, this would be in it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. And hey, if you think that this movie is centrist, go back and rewatch the scene where Robin Hood pulls his bow out and points an arrow 5 inches from a dude's face for trying to enforce the law. That was like maybe another one of my favorite moments. It's insane.
I love when his hands are tied behind his back and he jumps onto a horse.
Yeah. And Errol Flynn did a ton of stunts in this.
Wow.
He didn't do that one. That's
okay.
super, super, super dangerous. And then when he cuts the rope and like flies like 4 stories up over that gate, he also did not do that one. But whoever did those, top notch.
This doesn't fit in anywhere, but I did have a question for you that I didn't get to ask you.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you eat mutton joints?
What's mutton again? Lamb?
Well, I guess more so, are you a fan of a big leg of meat?
No.
That you can hold.
I'm so glad that you asked this. Oh my God. I was at like some big, it was the Big E in Massachusetts. I think it's Massachusetts. It's this like massive, massive state fair. It's so big that when you're on the highway, there's like a permanent sign for it. You know, when it's like lodging, gas, food at this exit, there's a permanent spot for the Big E. I went there, so we're trying all this fair food, and I'm like, I'm going to get a big turkey leg, right? Disgusting. So overrated. Like just dry, flavorless, horrible.
Maybe you just had a bad leg.
I don't know, man. I don't know. But no, I'm not a big fan of like big hunks of meat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. Well, obviously. Hey, if you're not a fan of big hunks of meat, or if you are, we'd love it if you leave us a rating and a review wherever you're listening. Hey, you listening on CastBox?
Hey,
let us
friends.
know.
Yeah.
Send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. Remember, we're still in the running to beat Jamie Kennedy in the Apple Podcast review charts.
Very good, Seth.
We've only got like 80 more to go.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, I'm going to get a tattoo of the final number when we beat him. So help us out. If you're listening on Apple, leave us a review. We're begging you. You can also support the show, patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. $5 a month gets you access to all of our additional shows, which, very exciting stuff. This September, perhaps early October, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be September. We're launching a new show that I'm doing with some other people. It's called One Director at a Time, and we're going to be looking at the movies of Quentin Tarantino, one movie at a time. So if you're interested to hear that, boom, that's a new show. On top of that, though, we've got Freaks and Geeks. We've got Ghibli. We're doing the movies. Come on. We've got, what else?
Fast and Furious.
Oh, yeah. I'm doing a Fast and Furious series with my mom. Those are a lot of fun. I'm doing horror movies with Jean Marie. We've got Super Amazing Film Club, where we talk with people that we love about movies that they love. There's a lot of stuff going on over there. Plus, you get access to our patron-only Discord, and you get to vote on movies every month and monthly themes like Swashbuckling September. This never would have happened.
No.
Never would have happened.
Guarantee you this was not on the docket for September.
No. Would have been September.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. Go sign up. Come on. You've been thinking about it now. You've been listening to us. Listener, I want you to realize this. You've been listening to us for almost 2 years.
Wow.
And every week, you're like, oh, that's right. I should sign up for Patreon. And you don't do it. And I got to tell you, we're going to cut you off.
That's right.
That's right.
We're gonna cut the RSS feed to your phone and
just
listening device.
to your device. Yeah.
Just you. just you. We have that technology.
Yeah, we do. So, hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to do that to you, but, that's showbiz, baby.
We got to do what we got to do.
All right. Next week is my pick for Swashbuckling September. And I'm going back to my childhood and a movie that I found to be a heroic, brave adventure.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be talking about The Mask of Zorro from 1998, starring our good friend Antonio Banderas. And it's directed by Martin Campbell, and it's currently on Hulu. Now, each month at the turn of the month, we always get screwed over, so hopefully it's still on Hulu by the time this episode comes out. But yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, have you seen this before?
I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like maybe.
Okay.
So probably we're just gonna say no because.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this one. This is one.
This is well loved. People
in the
love
back of
this
my
movie.
head. Yes.
Yeah.
In the back of my head, the whole time doing this show, this wasn't like a front runner. Like, oh my god, we need to do this.
Yeah.
But each time, it's like, oh, could I fit in The Mask of Zorro somehow?
I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, so it's exciting.
Yeah.
All right, we're back.
We are back. Wow.
Wowie, wow. Who would have thought? I mean, everybody and us, but.
Right. And September came, so.
And your crown stayed on the whole episode.
I know. How impressive is that?
Very impressive.
I feel like I should wear it all day. I'm going to a family barbecue. I should just wear my crown.
You could. You know what you should do is you should just wear it and not say anything.
Well, that's
do an Andy Kaufman type thing.
That would be the only way to do it.
Yeah. And maybe your headphones too. I don't know.
And just have the wire drag.
Yeah.
Behind me.
People are like, well, she finally snapped.
There she is.
All right. Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks, Seth. Good to be back.
Thank you, patrons, for voting Swashbuckling September. Can't wait for what's to come. All right. Thank you very much for listening. Till next time, have a good one.
Movie Friends is produced by Seth Vargas and Michelle Rubenstein.
Why is it doing?
Music by Anthony Vicora. If you like the show, please subscribe and give us a rating. It really helps us find new friends. Thanks.